Hey guys, welcome back. And we kind of need to talk about the sad state of modern Hollywood. I mean, this whole weekend was supposed to be a very big weekend for a couple of movies in the box office, and we've got The Flash completely tanking. Now they're predicting this movie is going to lose money. And while I know it's not a Disney film, it definitely ties into the fact that Disney and Warner Brothers have two of the most iconic, it's really the big two between DC and Marvel. Two of the iconic comic book superhero brands, and neither one can fill neither one can fill a theater. Neither one can actually succeed in the box office anymore. And it's just pitiful. And honestly, there's a lot of reasons for The Flash. There's mixed reviews, people saying that it's a mess, people saying that it's not a great movie, that the effects look weird. People saying it's really just a Batman movie with the Flash thrown in, that Michael Keaton was really the only good part of the movie. And then there's the reality that Ezra Miller is a complete creep. And there's plenty of proof of that, plenty of evidence that this person is not well, that they've definitely got some issues. But on the flip side of that, I think it's really funny that this kind of ties into what's going on over at Disney with their new Pixar movie, Elemental, completely tanking. Now, look, I know this is more of a kids movie. It's not going to be for everybody. It's definitely geared towards a younger audience. But traditionally, Pixar can bring the family money, the money that Mario made, that $1.3 billion worldwide that Mario's managed to rake in the box office. And Pixar is it's a family brand. It's been that way for 2 decades at this point. Well, actually, almost 3 decades. But the reality is, this movie is not going to do well for Disney. And if you look at their box office so far, over the weekend they made $29.6 million. And I do believe that is worldwide. I could be wrong. It might actually, I think it's, no, I think that's domestic. I'm pretty sure it's more like 41 million worldwide. We'll see here. No, so it was a $29.6 million domestic debut. With, of course, the world box office not being a whole lot more, puts it in that $40 million range. But there's a lot of problems with this movie. People have said that it's just kind of like a racial allegory. Basically, it's this whole idea that you have the water people and the fire people, and one's an immigrant, and they just can't mix. So you have this whole idea of race mixing and stuff being taboo, and it's like, who is this movie for? Like, who is it really for, to be honest? It's such a weird idea for a kids movie, and poorly executed. From what everyone said, the characters are not likable. There's just a lot of problems with this movie. It's a god-awful mess. And so, unfortunately for Disney, for everything they own between Marvel, Lucasfilm, Pixar, everything that they're doing is just tanking. It's just not doing well. And this is one more of the situations where they just don't know their audience anymore. And actually, it's funny, Clownfish TV pointed out something really ironic, that it seems like what you have is when you have a group of people that grew up watching Pixar films, and now they've gone to film school, they've become graphic designers or digital artists, and they've grown up and they've gotten jobs at Pixar, and they go, hey, I grew up on Pixar movies, I can make a Pixar film, right? Like, they're just copying it. They weren't part of the original process. They weren't part of the original team. So now it's as if they're just trying to copy what they imagine a Pixar film should be. And it's definitely not working well. It's not working out. Nobody's buying it. And the funny thing about, if you look at the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, this is something really interesting. Whereas the audience score for some movies like Little Mermaid was, the verified score is very high, but the total audience score was very low. This one here still has the same thing. All audience is 86%, verified is 92%. So clearly the verified audience, however they get that score in there, is always going to have a higher skew towards it, right? Top critics, all critics, kind of the same boat here. Top critics at 65, all critics at 76. So this movie is probably sitting, from the people that actually went and saw it, somewhere in that 80% ballpark, if you just average out all the scores. Now, that sounds like a decent movie, 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10, 80%, however you want to look at it, that's got to be a decent score. But I think, honestly, what we have going on here is those people that are the die-hard Pixar fans, the people that are trying their hardest to support Disney because they're okay with all the propaganda Disney's putting in their movies, they are the ones pumping the score up. And the reality is, like any movie that has a very small fan base or a small target audience, if just your target audience shows up and watches the film, of course they're going to have very glowing things to say about it. So it doesn't surprise me that the only reviews we have so far have an average of 80% for an audience score. Well, for the audience, it's more like an average of like 80, 88, 89 or so. But this just kind of is one more like train wreck for Disney this year. The Little Mermaid. You have all these articles from like Collider trying to artificially create hype for this movie. For example, they titled this article, "The Little Mermaid Sails Past New Global Box Office Milestone." If you just read that, you would think, God, this movie has to have made like $1.5 billion, right? No. It hasn't even hit 450. Oh no, okay, so they're rounding up. They've got it at 450. I think the actual number is somewhere in like 441 or something. But the reality is, this movie is not going to make money. It has to make about $500 million just to break even, and it's not there yet. And every article you read online is just trying to tell you how great this movie is and how you shouldn't compare it to Aladdin because Aladdin had the star power of Will Smith. I'm one of the people that actually hated the live-action Aladdin remake. I thought it was terrible. I saw like 5 minutes of it that my kids had it on, and I tuned in and I was like, no, this is crap. So I don't know who the audience was that really created this $1.1 billion worldwide market for Aladdin. I don't know. It wasn't me. I didn't go see it in theaters, neither did my kids. But for whatever reason, they keep making these live-action remakes, and they're just going from bad to worse. And then we have Indiana Jones coming out in about 10 days. And this, I think, is going to be the final nail in the coffin for Disney. This movie is possibly the most expensive movie of all time, given how many reshoots and how many edits and how many refilming different scenes and changing the story and all that crap they've done with it. This movie is going to possibly, and I say possibly, be the thing that actually forces Bob Iger to finally, after 5 years of talking about it, to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. But who knows? She might still stay around. I don't know what dirt that woman has on anybody, but literally, if nobody can fire her up to this point, it seems like she's untouchable. But yeah, this movie is one more of those situations where Disney is just headed for really dark times. They're going to lose, they're estimating anywhere from $150 to $300 million on The Flash over at DC. This movie, I can't imagine it wouldn't lose more. The budget for this movie has gotten so insane that this will probably beat The Flash as far as the lost revenue goes. But who knows? Let me know what you guys think. Are you going to go watch any of these movies? I'm staying away from the theater right now for the next 6 months because there's nothing I want to see. And I'm not supporting any of these companies. So let me know in your comments down below, and I'll see you on the next one.